Today I've got a clip from Goodall and Emily Maitlis from the Newsagents where they talk about how the far right has been enabled by politicians, liberal media, and the very little pushback against fascism and the far right in the UK. They've been given too much ground. Keir Starmer has been ceding ground on the immigration debate, and we really need to defend our values and call fascism out for what it is. So let's get straight into the clip.
I think, the Overton window isn't just moving, it's galloping. It's galloping. And you're absolutely spot on in everything you say. And I should just say, just to go back as well, in the wake of Charlie Kirk's appalling murder, we heard a lot of rhetoric from lots of right-wing figures from America and the UK as well, some of them hard right, some of them far right, suggesting that somehow political violence or politically violent rhetoric is somehow the preserve of the left. What we saw 36 hours later, is Elon Musk turning up at that rally and saying that there should be a revolution in Britain and saying to the crowd that you either fight back or violence is coming to you. So this idea that political invective, as we were talking about on Thursday, is confined to the left, complete bollocks, proven once again by their most powerful talismanic figure, Elon Musk. But on the point about the Overton window, you're completely right about the money. Something else is happening, though. And this is actually something which is not the fault of the hard right or the far right. It's the fault of the progressive left. It's the fault of the centre. It's the fault of the centre right, who a shiver should be going down the spine of every decent centre right politician out there, that suddenly the people coming to define the right in this country are Tommy Robinson and Elon Musk. They need to fight back. There needs to be one of the reasons that people...
Yeah, true. You even hear Andrew Neil, a pretty staunch conservative, criticising Elon Musk and Tommy Robinson. What fight back are we seeing from Keir Starmer? Or even, like, centrists, like leftists? People are too afraid. And essentially, you're having the media, and it is liberal media, ABC, Disney, bending the knee to Trump because they're afraid, even though they would clearly win any lawsuits. The lawsuit against the New York Times was thrown out like he can't win this. They are just scared, bending the knee. And then you have, over the last 10 years, a reluctance to call Trump a fascist in liberal media and actually call these talking points out. What is Keir Starmer doing? He's bending into it. He's ceding ground to the anti-immigration debate. And we've seen it. If we don't talk about and celebrate and actually, talk about our ideas pro-immigration, they will win the ground. We have to fight against these talking points, not just be like, oh, we don't want to call them fascists. No, we haven't been calling these people fascists enough. We haven't been making these ideas as horrible as they should be.
People are talking in this way. One of the reasons that, as Andy was saying, all of these tropes, usually based in misinformation, are starting to be regurgitated. The reason these ideas are becoming more ubiquitous, in a way you can't blame the hard right or the far right. They have an agenda and they're prosecuting it day in, day out. They're going out there, sending their message day in, day out, often in an often despicable, appalling way, but nonetheless, that's what they're doing. Where's the fight back? Who's arguing against them? Because the Overton window moves when there are no ideas to fight the ideas which are moving the window. And I think the best example that we saw of that was this weekend, where this weekend, despite the fact we'd heard Elon Musk at that rally saying, fight back or you die, despite the fact that Elon Musk at that rally had said violence is coming, despite the fact that someone was filmed calling for Keir Starmer to be assassinated, despite the fact there were a whole multitude of religion or religious provocations, despite the fact that Tommy Robinson is a figure who, as I say, was a member of the BNP and the founder of the EDL, despite all of that, what was the government's response at the weekend?
Go on.
Well, when Peter Kyle was on my LBC show on Sunday and I asked him point blank whether he thought that what Elon Musk had said was incitement to violence or was dangerous, he said it was just too silly that he didn't want to even think about it, didn't even want to talk about it. He said that people were turning up at this rally and what it actually showed was that the right to protest was alive and well in Britain.
And this is why we have fascism in the mainstream now. The Overton window has moved so far to the right that great replacement theory, anti-trans, anti-climate change, all these far-right talking points are now just spread throughout the public. People that just believe this shit. And we're not allowed to call them out. It's mean to call people fascists now when they hold fascist beliefs. And they know when they weaponize this, say, "Oh, people have got blood in their hands because they call Charlie Kirk a fascist." They know they're lying. When Piers Morgan says he calls people on the left fascist and then says, "Oh, it's dangerous when you call people fascist," he knows he's lying. He's grifting. He doesn't give a shit about the truth. And we need to take a step back and go, actually, this is a real fight because they've got the resources. They've got the grifters on the right. They've got the YouTubers on the payroll who will spread this misinformation. And what's Keir Starmer doing? What did Kamala Harris do? What did Joe Biden do? Oh, it's like, we want to be civil. We want civility politics. It's beyond civility politics at this point. Like, you don't do civility politics with fascists. No, we need to call them out. And that doesn't mean violence. That's what they want. They thrive on that. They're loving it. They're loving it right now. No, we need to really actually defend our ideas. Liberalism used to be about defending ideas. Keir Starmer doesn't defend any values. He has no values.
Sorry, what? What? By any stretch of the imagination, Robinson has always been considered and is a dangerous figure with deeply repulsive ideas, deeply racist ideas. And we have a government which actually goes out at the weekend on Sunday and goes, well, you know, these people, the people who turned up, that's fine. I'm sorry. I mean, look, I don't want to be judgmental about anybody who turned up to that rally. I do understand. At the end of the day, there are so many problems with this country. People feel desperate. And right now, to be honest, it's the hard right and far right who are basically coming up with an explanation and analysis as to why the country is in a state. That's on the left and on the centre and on the centre right. It's that fact that they haven't put up any other ideas is appalling. But at the end of the day, we know who Tommy Robinson is. And I think if you're turning up to a Tommy Robinson rally, that's problematic.
I think there are ideas, but they're more complicated. It's very easy just to scapegoat immigrants, trans people, Muslims, and just repeat it. And they've got the resources. Talk TV, GB News, all these outlets, the Daily Mail, right-wing YouTubers funded often by think tanks, Russia, Israel. Like, they're well funded. The left has no money. We don't have the resources. That's the big problem. We need enough voices to actually push back. And it's very easy to be a right-wing grifter. You can make a lot of money very quickly doing this stuff by just parroting the same old talking points about wokeness and all that nonsense.
If you're marching with Tommy Robinson, you are marching with Tommy Robinson. I don't think it's more complicated than that. And there was a time in which a Labour government...
It kind of is and it isn't. It is in a way, sociologically, why he's thriving, a failure of capitalism, inequality. But also, if you support Tommy Robinson, you do support fascist beliefs. Like, in that way, she's right. It's not complicated. We need to push back against this.
Government would have really had things to say about that, would have really been clear in its response. I mean, we both remember when Nick Griffin, who was of the BNP, which is not a million steps away from Tommy Robinson, appeared on Question Time, and the entire panel and most of the audience were out to correct him, to stand up to him, or even to boo him. I mean, they allowed him the freedom of speech to appear on the panel, and then they told him what they thought of him. They don't do that anymore. I have to say, though...
Yeah, true. That was a key turning point. When you look back, actually, bloody hell, how far the Overton window has shifted. Because he's, again, not too far away from Tommy Robinson. Great replacement theory, anti-Muslim, like all these talking points about immigration, very similar to what the BNP stood for. And then you have Nigel Farage after that point in 2009. He's like, we have to professionalize and sanitize the far right. He said he single-handedly got rid of the BNP. Yes, he did. He embraced the dog whistle, obfuscation, vagueness, and this language that has been so normalized now. But people don't realize these are fascist dog whistles, far-right dog whistles towards remigration, mass deportations, banning trans ideology from universities, critical race theory. These are authoritarians. And you think they're going to be explicit about it? No, it's all couched in dog whistles and obfuscation. And this is why it is hard to fight. It's not simple. It's not as easy to call these fascists out because they go, oh, I'm not a fascist, I just care about my country. But what do they really believe? Well, they're incredibly dishonest. And that's why it makes it genuinely hard to call these people out.
I think some of the really interesting work on this goes back to exactly what you were saying about where the government or where the left start trying to find the fight back. And Sam Friedman, the commentator, has got a very good Substack today, which compares what people say they think is the problem nationally with what they feel is the problem locally to them. And the disparity is extraordinary. So if you look at something like immigration, 32% think that Britain is in a bad place with immigration. But if you ask them locally, is that a problem for you? They say 4%. In other words, that gap is absolutely massive. You think in your local area it doesn't really matter, but you've heard it's a big problem for Britain. You've heard, in other words, Tommy Robinson and his ilk repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. You've seen the big money come in. You've seen people try and influence you. You've seen the AI images telling you that Muslim men are surrounding, young British women and making them cry. That is where the disparity comes from. And his theory is, if you look at actually what people say is important to them, it is hyper-local stuff. It is inflation, as ever. It is prices. It is the economy. It is the NHS. And so actually, if you were operating, it's petty crime. So if you go back to what any government in power should be doing, it's making people feel that their own areas, their own localities are getting better, that their prices are not getting higher, that their NHS services.
I agree with that. That is true, the material conditions. But also, we have to kind of mold reality like they do. We need to actually celebrate immigration, celebrate the wins we have, and actually have a message that's coherent. But we don't. We don't. We're just too afraid to kind of criticize the opposition and have a strong message about wealth inequality, how we need to tax and rebuild Britain, and just repeat it and repeat it, repeat it. Wealth tax, tax, wealth, not work. And also, as well, with the immigration thing, and we'll end here, polling is so contradictory. People broadly are polling at, we want less immigration. And then other polls, they say they want more certain immigration, more carers, more nurses, more hospitality. So it's kind of, we want less and more. It's confused. And we need to have a clear message that immigration is a positive in Britain. When was the last time you hear a politician say that? Ed Davey has condemned Trump and the Trump visit. Zach Polanski. Who else is actually talking about these things? Very little people. People online, yeah. But politicians aren't defending the values that they hold. And that's the problem. We need better politicians. We need a better media environment. But there you go. Pretty depressing, right? It ain't going to get any better anytime soon. So on that positive note, I guess I'll see you in the next video.